Hi, Shonleigh.
You've accomplished a lot this year,
Yeah.
just like every other year, but what are you most proud of? So if you look back at 2016, what are you most proud of accomplishing?
Nearly every area of my commercial life dramatically improved. So when I look at my commercial life, I look at my role at News Corp. Very good with some of the initiatives that we brought out. Challenging from a financial point of view, but we play the long game, and we know that today does not mean tomorrow. Auction business, live streaming, which I took on in middle of the year, totally transformed my auction business, and it just took so many viewers out there that all of a sudden, within 2 weeks of me using live streaming, I had my audience. My audience always saw me, Shonleigh, as being, trainer, marketing, vendor paid advertising, and all of a sudden they started seeing this guy on a Saturday doing auctions and selling them. And so the inquiries came in. So now I just reject so many auctions every weekend. So that speaking, I've always only take on a portion of the speaking events that are given to me because of time constraints that I have at News Corp. So it, from a business perspective, it has been amazing. From a health perspective, I had a small speed hump, but it's all good now. So, and I'm excited about that. I've got to tell you that when I do a bit of an audit on my life and I look at spiritually, physically, mentally, family, social, career, I have to say scored very, very well in all of those things. And I'm pretty pumped because I think 2017, based on what I've got planned, it should even be better.
On a personal note,
Yeah.
We've talked about you as a coach, and obviously your role is huge across the real estate industry.
Yeah.
Your role is to inspire and to keep accountable lots and lots of people, thousands of people.
Yeah.
So if you're pouring all of your energy into other people all day, every day, and I imagine you pour the same amount of energy into your beautiful family,
Yeah.
Who's putting that energy into you? I mean, who inspires you and who keeps you accountable on a daily basis?
Okay, so I don't have I would say a coach myself, but I've got lots of coaches. So I've got someone that looks after me from a health front, a naturopath slash wellness coach, I would call them. So I have that. From a spiritual perspective, and I'm not a fanatical religious person, but I just find it very calming to believe that there's a purpose to everything, and that I came here on a specific day, I'm going on a specific day, and I find it very useful speaking to my local priest. So that's, from a spiritual perspective. From a physical perspective, I've got people at my gym that work there, and I train with a lot of people, and I would call these people keeping me accountable because it is group training and they expect me to be there at certain times. I catch up every week with John McGrath because I do the podcast $1 Million Agent. So that process there is very good coaching in itself, that I have time with John before and after the podcast. One of the things that I'm blessed with is my real estate gym is all about interviewing $1 Million Agents. So a minimum once a week, I'm actually talking to someone that's actually got a good character, a great behaviour, and has become a $1 Million Agent. And I don't care about the money. What I care is about the person that they've become. So me spending time with that person is actually coaching to me because I can see, what's this person doing here? So I learn from all those people, Shonleigh, and I've got to tell you, I just work harder on myself than the job because I am the job.
So I've heard you say in previous interviews that change is hard, and I know you've spoken on stage talking about change and why we have so much resistance to it. Obviously being in recruitment, I see that a lot. People will come to me and let me know that they're thinking of making changes. However, when it comes down to the crunch, people just resist change and they find it really hard to actually make that leap. One of the things I love about recruitment is that I get to actually help in that process. So in terms of what you're doing, why do you think, or from the people that you're currently working with, why do you think we struggle so much with change? Why do we stay in the same jobs or the same bad relationships or friendships or wherever it may be if we're not happy, or if it's sort of not really filling us up anymore?
Okay, so Shonleigh, the first thing I'll say is, why do most people fail when they do attempt to make a change? Like, let's call change like eating clean, right? The reason why they struggle with it is that willpower and discipline is a flawed strategy, because it works when you're pumped, but when you become vulnerable, when you become stressed, when you become distracted, when you've got a million things going on at the one time, willpower caves in. So firstly, I say is, don't rely on willpower as your strategy to change, because it's inevitable it's going to fail. If it wasn't, everyone would be ripped and rich, right? Right? But that's not the case, right? That's not the case. And people, and everyone would have the perfect relationship with a perfect house, loads of money. They would have a six-pack, but that's not reality. People struggle with all those things, and that's because change is hard, and willpower is a flawed strategy. And I say is, don't worry about relying on willpower. Change your environment. Change your environment, which is useful. I mean, in the work that you do, like, the reality is, I have seen this happen where you take one agent out of an office that is a bad environment, that has a culture of non-accountability, that feels like an adult daycare centre, where it's people just hanging around. And then that person struggles in that environment. And then, Shonleigh, you take that same person, you put them in an environment where it's a high-performing office, where there's accountability, where there's energy, where there's other good people. So all of a sudden, this person compares themselves to a good agent, not to a bad agent. So all of a sudden, this person changes. Why? They changed their environment. I'll give you an example on an environment on food, eating clean. I just got to tell you, I know that people that have their meals pre-packed by a company that delivers them 4 meals per day, and they're controlled on what carbs there's in there, what proteins, what fats, has a higher likelihood of succeeding at eating clean than the person that's doing it where there's no environment where that's happening. As I say, if you don't want to slip, don't hang around slippery spots.
So, 2017, just around the corner, it's December, kind of crazy. Goal setting. So there are lots of different ways that we could goal set. I mean, people do have vision boards, or they, simply write their goals down. They might put them on a mirror with a post-it note. There's lots of different ways we can do it. But in your experience, I mean, much like we just talked about with clean eating, it's really easy to say, I'm going to clean eat this whole year, and then mid-January comes and you have a couple of wines and then you're eating pizza. Which is not what I just did recently on my honeymoon. But in saying that, so how do you stay aligned with your goals all year round? How do you not fall off the bandwagon so quickly? And I mean, what would be some advice that you'd give people that, do want to stay aligned all year round with what they really want to achieve, but they're just struggling to sort of, I guess, stay focused?
Okay. So what I would say is, make sure that the goal that you write, you want it badly, and you're not just going through a process, I've got to do my goals, it's 2017. So I would say that would be the first thing. The first thing is, get super clear of what is it that if you got this, you wouldn't need an alarm clock to wake you up. If you got this, so Shonleigh, it's the thing that you reverse engineer your year, and you're sitting down on the 31st of December 2017, and you're sitting there and you truly go, fuck, you say, yes, I got it, that you wanted it so bad. This thing can't be something that your partner wants. This thing can't be something that other people want you to have. It's got to be the thing that you want, Because what I know is that when you make passion your paycheck, when you make your goals bigger than your excuses, that's when you win. So that's the first thing. The second thing is write out the plan. And the plan does not have to be a 27-page document. It's basically got to be a nice, like, the short version is write yourself a letter from the future.
Okay, a letter.
Yeah, a letter. 31st of December 2017. Dear Tom, what an amazing year it's been. You wrote $850,000 in GCI. You put on your first personal assistant. She has worked out and she's amazing. She has given you so much time to just talk to buyers and sellers and look for new business. It has also got rid of your database issue, which you hated doing. In addition to that, you spent 3 weeks in New York. That was an amazing trip. You saved $40,000 and that was what went down as a deposit on your first investment property. From a health perspective, you got down to 84 kilos and your DEXA health test showed that you're down to 13% body mass fitness. So you write yourself a letter, 2-page letter. I'm not talking about going through some strategic approach or getting Boston Consulting to try and help you with this document that you're never going to look at. I'm talking about maybe typing it in as notes into your iPhone. Yeah. Because Shonleigh, when you wake up in the morning, you got to be able to sit there and look at, hey, this is why I'm doing what I'm doing. So find what you want, write the plan, and number 3 is then do something every day. Just get started, because 80% of winning is beginning. Just get started. Don't worry about what's going to happen in May, March, because what I know is that shit happens, Shonleigh, and everything that you thought was going to go that way, it doesn't. But success is a bit like dominoes, that you do something and it creates something else to happen. It creates something else to happen. So action means that getting started, things are just going to happen. So in summary, I would say to people, get clear on what they want, write a plan, maybe a letter from the future, just get started, and remember, you're not trying to create a brilliant 2017. What you're doing is trying to create brilliant habits to help you have a great 2017.
I guess leading on from that, let's say we've had an agent, 2016, who has had an absolute shocker, and I'm talking they've missed heaps of listings, they've fallen short of their GCI, their properties have stayed on the market, they're just unhappy, they're unmotivated, they're probably unhealthy, and they're starting to think, is real estate for me? Is this the career path that I really want to be on? If you, Tom Panos, were sitting down with them one-on-one and you were having one of your amazing coaching sessions, what would be, I guess, the first couple of questions you'd be asking this particular person?
Okay, well, the first thing I would say to him, even before I ask him a first question...
it could be a girl.
It's a girl. If it's a girl, let's call a girl. So let's assume I'm sitting there with Lisa, and Lisa's feeling very bad about everything that's happened. I would say, Lisa, I got great news for you. You have survived your darkest year. You're already a winner. So the first thing I want to do is reframe her perspective, because too many people make a bad year look like a bad life. So that would be step number 1. Step number 2, I would turn around and I would say, let's not go over how bad it was. I want to ask you, what do you want 2017 to look like? Because Shonleigh, this Lisa has a tendency to go over the problem in her head. And what I'm saying is, to get to the next level, a new level of thinking has to happen. The level of thinking that Lisa has used has got her to where she is now. So her going over that is not actually going to give us too much insight into what's going to happen. So I would say is, what do you really want to do? The next thing then I would do is I would look at the environment. What are the changes that I need to make? Now, some of those changes could be, I've got to actually change my friends. I've got to change my colleagues. I might have to change my business. I might have to change certain habits. So have a look at what are the changes that you've got to make. Your environment is absolutely critical. And then what I would say that is super critical is to create small 30-day projects, right?
Yeah.
Because 30 days, you can change a habit. And look for the habit that's going to have the biggest push goal. So if I'm sitting with this person, Lisa, Shonleigh, what I'm sitting there is thinking to myself, what one habit will actually affect everything in that person's life? What one habit would it be? And I actually had a conversation with a person that you've just described yesterday, and we came up with this, that if this person just had more energy, it would actually help with prospecting, with self-esteem, and would actually help to be able to have more energy to work, help with work ethic. So this person's goal is very simple: exercise and food. And I finish every coaching session like this. What are you going to do? When are you going to do it by? How am I going to know you've done it? They're the three things. Straight, that's all I care about. Why? Because if I can just fight that resistance and friction and that uncomfortable feeling for 30 days, they don't need me after that. Because they'll say, Tom, I don't need you to remind me. I've done it, right? So to me, it's just these 30-day projects.
If there was a gold nugget that you could sort of give someone and say, listen, this is what's going to help you have the best year you've ever had next year. So not just professionally, super important, but also personally. So like we've just talked about, spiritual health, mental health, health and wellbeing, all the rest of it. What would that golden nugget be? Just one piece of advice, which I'm sure you've got lots, but...
I would say this to them. You're going to die. Time's running out. Number one. Number two, be grateful because you are a human being, and that's a miracle. Number three, chances are if you're watching this, your life is better than what you think it is. The fact that you're able to be in a country that has got something that you can be streaming and watching. Number four is this: don't fall for that trap that the past equals the future. That's rubbish. Never, ever let your personal history get in the way of your destiny.
On that note of thankfulness that you just talked about and gratitude, what is just lastly, the one thing you're thankful for or grateful for at the moment? We just had Thanksgiving in America. It was really nice to celebrate it there, and obviously we don't really celebrate it here in Australia. One thing I said is what you just mentioned. I feel safe to live in Australia, and how grateful I am to just wake up every day and feel like I can walk outside and there's going to be no dramas. So in terms of gratitude, what are you most grateful for?
Shonleigh, I'm grateful that I'm healthy. I'm grateful that I've had my challenges in health, and I'm in remission, which means that I'm cancer clear, and that coupled with the fact that this morning I had 3 glasses of fresh water out of a tap, which some places don't have, that I was able to run around the bay that's got beautiful water in a great city, in a great country. I just know that there would be millions of people on this planet that would swap spots with me to have those things, and I'm very mindful of it.
Thanks, Tom.
Thank you so much.
Answer. Thank you so much for your time today. Really, really appreciate you taking the opportunity to sit down with me. Have a lovely Christmas. Stay away from your Christmas parties. And we'll
Thank you, Shonleigh. You do great work. You do great work.